Did Donald Trump kill this for you? He said Republicans who even consider voting for this should be ashamed of themselves. What did you think of that?
Obviously, he's got a campaign that he's running. He's focused in on trying to be elected president. Again, my focus is a national security focus. I'm the ranking member on border management for Homeland Security. That's my main focus, is to get that. We have a wide open border, and we've got to find a way to be able to stop it because we have very real risks that are coming across our southern border.
It is amazing how these conversations are just happening in plain sight, where you have conservatives, in this case, a Republican like Senator James Langford, acknowledging that the Republican Party is united in defeating one of the most right-wing conservative border security bills to come out of the Senate, maybe in US history, mostly because Donald Trump doesn't want to fix the border, so he has something to campaign on and has increased chances of winning the general election against Joe Biden. It is amazing. Now, of course, they're going to continue complaining about what's currently transpiring in our southern border. But the big update to this story is that some of the very Senate Republicans who helped negotiate the border bill are now turning their backs on said border bill. It is absolutely incredible. So NBC News is now reporting that GOP senators left a special closed door meeting in the evening last night, predicting that their party would not provide enough votes to move forward with the package Wednesday, saying they agreed they need more time to discuss changes to the bill in the form of amendments. Now, let me just keep it real. Even if Democrats stood back and said, we will vote in favor of anything you guys want, do whatever you want with the bill, do whatever you want with the legislation, there isn't a chance in hell that the Republican Party is going to pass a border security bill before the general election happens, because their daddy told them not to. We cannot upset Papa. Papa told us what to do, and we take orders from someone who's not even sitting as the United States president at the moment. We gotta help him by giving him something to campaign on. It is amazing to me. So remember, many of the Republican like MAGA lapdogs were actually against the bill before it was even released, before they even knew what was in the bill to begin with. So following that closed door meeting last night, James Langford told the press, quote, I would anticipate Wednesday the cloture vote in the Senate does not pass. People are saying, hey, I need a lot more time to be able to go through this, meaning a lot more time to actually read the legislation itself. Now, the amazing part about this story is how we see a 180 from Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who previously advised Republicans to support the bill, mostly because he wants to send military aid to Ukraine. It's all packaged together as one giant bill. There's also provisions in there that provides military funding to Israel. The 370-page bill was crafted with the input of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who advocated for it on the Senate floor on Monday, warning of crises at the southern border and internationally. It's now time for Congress to take action on supplemental national security legislation that finally meets those challenges head on, he says. But just hours later, when Senate Republicans met behind closed doors and opposition continued to grow, McConnell gave his members the green light to oppose Wednesday's procedural vote. McConnell told Republicans that if they have reasons to vote against the bill, they could. So I'm going to stop for comment, Cenk, because as we know, the House has already made it clear. House Speaker Mike Johnson has made it clear, even before reading the bill, that he wouldn't even allow for it to be taken up for a vote. And now you have senators who literally helped negotiate that bill saying, you know what, you don't want to vote in favor of it. That's okay. Let's just defeat the bill. Okay.
Yeah. Here's the reason why I love this story, because it exposes how ridiculous both Washington is overall, but in this case, more specifically, the Republican Party. What a joke they are. What a silly, silly joke. So first off, the reason why I don't just say the Republicans is because Democrats like Chris Murphy, who led the negotiation on the Democratic side, Kirsten Sinema, for whatever it's worth, an independent now, I have quotes all over the papers going that they're shocked. I think one of the Republicans said that he was gobsmacked that this had happened. Really? After all this time, you guys are shocked that Republicans are liars? Okay, I mean, like if I thought Chris Murphy was doing it like as a wink, wink, can you believe it, right? No, I think he's genuinely shocked. I mean, remember, Pelosi and Biden and Obama all said like, oh, no, the Republicans are gonna snap out of it. They're gonna go back to being a reasonable party. First of all, when was that? But like, no, even the people inside Washington, even Democrats and even the Republicans, they don't even understand what colossal liars the Republican leadership is and Republican politicians are. So I'm gonna go to the guy who led all this, Langford, the Republican from Oklahoma. He said, quite frankly, I was surprised at some folks that said, it'll take me a few days and weeks to be able to read through the bill. Yet within a few minutes, they tweeted out their opposition.
Really? Were you really surprised, Langford? Were you really
Exactly.
surprised?
Really? You were surprised by that? And the thing is, I think he was. I think he's like, all the times that they lie together, they convince themselves that they're not lying, I guess, right? And so when they lie against them, he's like, what the hell? What's going on? I thought you said you didn't need time to read the bill, but then right away you said no. Yeah,
Right.
of course they're lying, you idiot.
So,
That's what
Cenk,
your entire party does.
We might have millions of people watching this show, but you can be the difference maker because we just need 1% of our audience to be paid members, and then this show can be around forever. So you can make that difference. Click join now.
So I want to just quickly make a point about how this is all about accumulating power for personal reasons, right? It's all about self-enrichment. In this case, it's self-enrichment for Donald Trump. He doesn't really care about the border being out of control if he can use the border being out of control to give himself an advantage in the general election, something to campaign on, something to be part of his platform. But on the other side, let's also just be honest about the motivations of President Joe Biden, who has pretty much ignored this crisis. And it is, at this point, it is a crisis. It is undeniable, okay? Even the Democratic Party acknowledges it. You have, thousands of people crossing the border literally every single day. And the only reason why, to be quite frank, Democrats have woken up to the fact that this is a crisis is because the migrants are showing up into their cities and their constituents are furious about it because they have limited resources. And so what I'm seeing from Biden is just a complete lack of concern about this issue until it became a political problem for him. But he doesn't want to deal with the ire of some of the more progressive types who think that we should have open borders. And yes, believe it or not, those people do exist. In fact, I've come across a few think pieces in progressive publications making the case for open borders, which I disagree with, okay? So he doesn't want to deal with hate from that part of his constituency, but he wants to do something about the border. So he wants them to pass that bill. And he wants to basically say, well, there was nothing I can do. They passed this bill in Congress and there is a problem at the border. We got to do something about it. So it is what it is. I got to do what Congress wants me to do. I feel like that's where Biden's coming from. And again, in my opinion, it's a place of weakness. He's leading from a place of weakness rather than really taking charge of a serious problem and an actual crisis. But it is what it is, I guess.
Well, Anna, I don't know what you're talking about. Kamala Harris is on top of this. Remember Biden?
Don't come. Oh, that'll do it. That'll do it. Good job. So
Kamala. Remember Biden threw her under the bus by putting her in charge of the border, which is totally impossible. And he planned to do nothing about the border. He just planned to needlessly bury his own vice president politically, which was super weird. I guess they hate each other. And so you're right about the criticism of Biden, Anna. He'd done nothing about this. And guys, we've been clear about this. Under Obama, Trump, and early part of Biden's administration, the numbers were relatively similar. So when the Republicans flipped out for all those years, when Obama was in charge, oh my God, crisis, beginning of Biden's term. And even when it was convenient under Trump, the numbers were actually very similar and it was totally fake. But now the numbers are sky high.
Yes, I got to add, just to buttress your point and reinforce what you're saying, Obama had a nickname and it was deporter in chief because of how many people he deported. So when he was deporting more migrants than the previous Republican president, And then you hear Republicans complain about how there are open borders and everything is out of control. I mean, you can't help but roll your eyes at that. But it is undeniable that right now, because of how broken our immigration system is and how much our laws need to be reformed, there is in fact a crisis at the border, and it's undeniable. Now, in response to Republicans rejecting this Senate bill that pretty much gives them everything they want, Biden put out a speech today, something he does very rarely, but let's hear what he had to say, and then we'll discuss.
Now, all indications are this bill won't even move forward to the Senate floor. Why? A simple reason: Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump thinks it's bad for him politically. Therefore, he doesn't, even though it helps the country, he's not for it. He'd rather weaponize this issue than actually solve it.
So, Cenk, one of the criticisms we usually have in regard to the Democratic Party is how they don't go out there, use the bully pulpit to draw attention to the gross games that their political opponents engage in. In this case, you have Biden giving a speech and drawing attention to the fact that Republicans are fighting against their own bill coming out of the Senate. What did you think about his speech?
Yeah, I mean, look, he had the usual mumbling, et cetera, but it was a good speech. I'm really glad that he went out and made this case. And right now there's a little bit of buzz in the media about, hey, it does look like, and even in right-wing media, it does look like the Republicans tanked it on purpose to help Trump's campaign. And I'm super curious whether that's gonna get through to any Republican voters, and if they're gonna be, I know this is gonna sound hilarious, but bear with me, pissed at Trump for blocking a bill that would have actually helped to control the border. Now, that is absolute reality. That is 100% what happened. But usually Republican voters hate reality, and they would let Trump sleep with their wife, no questions asked. So I don't know, in a situation where it's the thing they care about most, controlling the border, versus Trump probably still wins. Right. But it isn't. But at least Biden has to make that case and say, guys, now Trump owns the border. I would have made it clearer in that way, but I'll take this. This is as good as it gets for Joe Biden.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.